Welcome to a new video. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called "They Wouldn't Approve Vacation Time." I work as a medic and this happened pre-2020. We do our scheduling 2 months in advance for work, since most people have multiple jobs and EMS isn't the kind of job that can just hang up, be back in 15 sign on the door. So after diligently working for my company for over a year, I finally wanted to use some of the vacation days I accrued. The issue was that there are like 8 levels of management, so it's hard to get things approved when we work overnights and management works business hours. I asked my supervisor to approve some vacation time several months out. He says to try and trade shifts with an employee so no one has to take actual time off. I don't care so long as I get my trip, so I book my flight and try to trade my shifts. 2 months out from my flight, no one traded for my shifts and my supervisor won't approve vacation time. So I talked to his boss, but it was the same story. Try to get a shift trade, says he can't approve vacation time. I say I'm still going on my trip. 1 month out from the trip, no changes. The supervisor and his boss can't approve my time. And at this point they say the schedule is set and I'm stuck with my shifts since no one would take a trade. So I call their boss and she says it's too late to do anything about it. 2 weeks till my flight and no coworker wanted to trade for my shifts. And no manager 3 tiers up would approve vacation time. So I call our dispatch center and call out as if I was emergently sick but with a 2 weeks advance notice. Legally, dispatch can't ask questions and the dispatcher just chuckled as he realized that I was calling out sick in advance and just pulled me off the schedule. Not 3 minutes later I get a phone call from the highest up manager I've ever spoken to. She says I can't call out sick 3 shifts in a row 2 weeks in advance. I'm like, "Bet, what are you gonna do about it?" I mention all my email correspondence with the other managers refusing to approve vacation time and say I'm just gonna call out since I'm not being allowed to use my time. She drops a threat. "Well, if you call out 3 consecutive shifts, you need to go to occupational medicine and get approved to come back to work from a long illness." Without skipping a beat I go, "Well, my flight back gets in real late Tuesday, so I might as well pull me off the Wednesday shift too and make it even 4 days, since I won't be able to get to OMS that day." After that we have a long silent pause on the phone. "Well, next time just call me first. I'll approve the vacation time. Don't worry about OMS and don't miss that Wednesday shift." A nice little victory of mine against a giant healthcare corporation, since they wouldn't approve my vacation days, but they can't question my sick days if I'm willing to take them. The next story is called "She Demands It." I work as a cashier in a gas station in Miami Gardens, Florida. Naturally, the people that come into the store tend to be on the crazier side. The store had a line of maybe 7 people. Now at this point I had the register closed sign up and I was stocking the things on the shelves behind the counter. My coworker was handling the customers in line. I turn when I hear the door opening. Another lady walks in without a mask on. I politely ask, "Excuse me miss, do you have a mask that you could put on?" She scoffed at me and rolled her eyes as she dug in her purse for a minute or 2. Finally, she pulls out a worn out little mask with only one functional strap and holds it to her face while she's waiting in the line. Well, apparently she couldn't do that for very long. She comes to the front of the line, ranting and raving about how the line is too long and that we shouldn't be keeping a valued regular customer waiting. I've been working here for 4 months and I've never seen her and I'm fairly confident I know all the regulars. I tell her that there are other things that my manager left for me to do before the end of closing and that I have to get them done. She didn't seem to like that at all. "I demand that you open your register right now." "Okay, you got it, lady." I moved the sign and then I turned back to her. "Do me a favor and stand a little bit to your right." Surprisingly, she complied, albeit with her arms crossed and what I can only assume was an angry grace firing through her mask. Cue the malicious compliance. I yell, "Next customer," out into the store. It dawns on her what I am doing, but the next customer shoots up in front of the counter before she can even fully process it. I go about this transaction as normal, despite the fact that this lady is yelling at me at the top of her lungs, no longer holding the mask to her face, mind you. I finish up with the other customer and I turn to her. She tries to yell over me, so I raise my voice a bit and try to be as stern as possible. I tell her, just because my register is open now doesn't entitle you to skip all the other people in this line who also have lives and jobs and other responsibilities. Get to the back of the line and be respectful, or I have no choice but to have you removed from the store. We don't have security, but we are 2 blocks away from a police station, and one of the cool officers who come into the store gave me their personal number to use just in case we have any issues. The lady harums loudly and walks dejectedly to the spot in the line she had before she left. In the amount of time it took for the rest of the story to occur, more people had gotten in the line. So I pointedly told her, I said the back of the line. She dropped her shoulders and walked to the back like a toddler. The third story is called Sweet Overtime Pay. This happened several months before I left my last job. The company I was working for went through something of a restructuring. The old owner and boss retired and handed the company to his youngest son, who in turn forced a lot of the great people in high positions out and replaced them with his underqualified friends. I was the team lead engineer in the safety and compliance department. I had a team of 3 senior engineers and their juniors, plus a personal secretary, 2 general secretaries and an office administrator. One of the people hired to oversee all the engineers of the company was a fresh out-of-school business student who didn't know the first thing on what we do or how we do it. His mindset was getting more out of us than was actually possible. It was his brilliant idea to downsize the department. Before, there were 2 teams like mine. Instead, he moved one team to be on the build side and pawned all the extra work on my team. Unfortunately, we had already been swarmed with the extra work. We were falling behind. The way our contracts were set up was that we had our base salary plus end-of-year bonuses based on contract completion plus any hours worked a week above 44, which was paid overtime at a premium rate. I went to the new department lead and I explained to him that we were swarmed and needed a few new people or we needed another team. Him, being the cost-cutting guy he was, would hear nothing of it. Instead, I was mad with her. Do what you have to do to get it done. I don't care how much you have to work or your yearly bonuses will be in jeopardy. I tried to explain the situation, that it is just too much work. His bright idea was to print out everything he said in his letterhead, sign it and leave it at that. I had a nice long conversation with my team and the office administrator pointed out that we had, on company letterhead signed by the boss, a ticket for all the overtime we want. So that is what we did. We gave him exactly what he wanted. We got all the projects done by working 80-hour work weeks for 3 straight months. Let's just say the paychecks were beautiful. It was after the 3 months mark, I guess, someone in HR noticed the huge paychecks everyone in my department was pulling in. My boss and I were called into a meeting with HR and the owner of the company. Well, they tried to say that I was scamming the company out of money. In those 3 months they paid out almost 2 times more than they would have if they kept the 2 teams as they were. But I had all the information I needed. I kept all the emails and signed documents from the department lead and handed everything over as photocopies. I also put down a copy of everyone's contract with the bonus part highlighted where it states paid on a per contract basis. That year my bonus was 3 times higher than it normally was. But after that incident I left the company 3 months after it had become a bad working environment. Additionally, all of us who were eligible for the bonus took a third of our bonuses and split it with the support staff. The next story is called Don't You Know Who I Am? A few years ago, I used to work for a tech company with a fruit logo as a technician. Part of the job was making appointments and checking people into the Genius Bar. I routinely got put on check-in, which I didn't mind because I was fairly good at de-escalating the angry people who come in for appointments to get their devices fixed. It was common for walk-in wait times to be over 2 hours, but if people were nice or genuine, I knew some ways to make the appointments time significantly less. After a while, I got talked to by my leadership to try to avoid doing that and to move through the line because it affected the number of in-store wait times and made us look bad, which is fine, I understood that. However, anytime an angry customer came in and threw a hissy fit, a super rich area and the never being told no mentality was common, the management folded over and did whatever they asked. A few days later I'm back on the check-in and the line is to the door and packed. We have 2 people on the check-in and moving quickly, but not quick enough. I see a larger dude in a nice suit that walked into the store and right past the obvious line straight to me and started yelling that he has to be seen right now. He tells me he has an issue with his phone that sounds like a simple software bug that we can fix easily. I'm sorry you're having these issues, but rest assured we can and will get them fixed for you. Unfortunately though, our wait times are extremely long, but if you return to the line and wait, I can either put you in our queue and text you when we are ready, or I can make an appointment for you later on today or tomorrow. At this point, I notice his face turning red and he looks like he's about to blow. The dude screams at me, "Do you know who I am? Do you know what I do? I am important and I need this phone working now, so find someone to help me." At this point in the day, I was already tired and was about 30 minutes late for lunch because the line was so long and I stayed to help my replacement with the line a bit. I stopped what I was doing and dropped my customer service smile and looked at the dude with a worn out retail worker stare. "Sir, I have no idea who you are, but if you need help with that, you're in the wrong place. The hospital is about 2 exits down. I suggest you go there. But if you need help with your phone and want to be seen right now, I will do so. If you tell every person you walk past that your time is more valuable than theirs, so you must go first. If they agree, I'll get you taken care of, but if not, get to the end of the line and wait like everyone else." Surprisingly, the dude actually turned to the lady I was helping when he barged in. He started to say, "Ma'am, I have," before she cut him off and said no. I told him, "You heard her, sorry, please move to the end of the line." I never found out who he was, because he stomped like a child and stormed out of the store, throwing the heavy doors open and disappearing from view. After he left, I helped the lady and went to lunch. When I got back, my leadership on the floor told me I should have tried to be more helpful. I told him I just got talked to for being too helpful, and for the rest of the time I worked there, they didn't bring up the issue again. I believe the guy probably sent his secretary or assistant up because that practice in the store was really common. The last story is called Legal Form of Payment. I live in Israel, where credit cards are mostly run and operated by banks rather than independent companies. Because the bank stands to profit from consumer debt and interest charges, they really push people to get credit cards rather than debit cards. And they work with big retailers to prefer credit cards by, for example, putting a surcharge on transactions using debit cards. They do still mostly offer debit cards though, since families often get them for teens as a first step towards financial independence. My wife and I have long struggled with overspending in debt and have for the last several years managed well by not using credit cards at all. When we came here, it took a bit to convince the bank representative that we really did only want debit cards. Nonetheless, we have them, and they work as expected in 99% of situations. One of those situations was for our cell phone contract, which we paid via debit card automatic withdrawal for the last 2 years. A few months back, the company started contacting us to tell us that we hadn't paid. We eventually figured out that their system somehow figured out that our card info was from a debit card rather than a credit card. And they, according to their policy, stopped accepting payment. When we called to sort out the problem and they refused to take our debit card as payment, our response was to change phone carriers. Since we changed carriers, the company has contacted us to pay for the final month's bill. When a representative called me a few weeks ago to ask for payment, I happily provided them my card details and told them they were free to take the payment. After the system refused payment, the representative realized it was because it is a debit card. The rep said, "I'm sorry, our system can take debit cards." I responded, "I'm not sorry at all. This is a legal form of money. If you can't take my payment, that doesn't bother me." I think she was surprised and confused, because she generally responded, "Oh, okay," and we hung up. They haven't gotten back in touch since. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.